difficulties. Who knows what that even was? I guess we can't complain because this is free to do. So we left off on talking about refi. So obviously, I think I was mentioning, I don't know how much got broadcast, but I was mentioning about refinancing clients with obviously either number one, secured or unsecured line of credits into a new mortgage. And I think Jackson, you had a little story about that you wanted to touch on.
Well, I got a couple stories. I mean, when you brought that up, it kind of reminded me that I've actually refinanced 3 people out of Manulife One accounts. Now, Manulife One does a great job of advertising and, you know, getting people to find your number, and they do a great job. But the problem is the product. I haven't really had many clients that have really liked the product, and to go with that, it's interesting because. I thought it was very odd how much the lenders compensated us for putting a line of credit in place. I thought we got paid very well for that. And I asked them once, I said, okay, if I'm putting a $200,000 line of credit on a client's property and all they want to do is, you know, we're just putting it to 200 because they want to get a car and they want to have some extra room. I said, why do you pay me on the balance? Why do you pay me on the limit and not just what they take out? And the answer was because 90% of people will have their credit line maxed out in 2 years. Now, I don't know if that's, you know, right or wrong, or, you know, I don't have any numbers to back that up, but I don't know. To me, the line of credit's just not necessarily the best option. You got to be pretty sure that you're going to use it properly to have one of those in place. So the 65%, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good thing for sure. Go ahead, Doug.
To touch on that as well, I mean, I wrote a blog post yesterday, and basically my main point was, when you give people easy access to cheap money, they're going to use it, right? They're not the general populations are probably going to really take advantage of it, and they're not going to really know how to handle it. I'm also working with a bunch of high schools in the area. I'm trying to get them to do a bit of a financial planning sort of course for children at high school age, because they really don't teach those skills anymore. And I guess a lot of people don't understand, you know, when you borrow money and just how interest works and all of that. So I think it's pretty important to really explain like how that product works and what that means long term.
Yeah, we see that. I mean, I see that quite often, right? Obviously, I mean, even unsecured ones are a big problem. I mean, they should be looking at that as scaling back too. I think now, Conrad, you've mentioned this a lot before. Obviously, they're changing all these mortgage rules, but you've always been a big kind of advocate of looking at other consumer debt that people get themselves into and scaling back that. Do you have any comments that you wanted to touch on that?
Yeah, I think it's no secret that you know, everybody's getting you know, an offer in the mail from a bank, one of the major institutions, or even some of the smaller ones that are just in the credit, you know, in the credit card business per se, and are offering you to you know, swap over your account balances or your account, you know, the balance on another Visa to another Visa or to a MasterCard, and you only have to pay a 1% fee. Start out at a $10,000 or $15,000 limit. There's really no qualifying, and so I think that's getting a lot of people in trouble. And the lines of credit are too, to a degree, obviously, where people are getting unsecured credit quite easily from the lender, even if it's a $10,000 line of credit. It's I think, you know, what we're seeing is the same thing that we see happening in a lot of the countries where there's access to money and it's very easily readily available, it's cheap, and so people use it. Unless you're really disciplined, a lot of people are getting in trouble. We're seeing a lot of countries that are now in trouble as a result too, especially the ones that are printing their own money, i.e. our American friends who are really close to us, and we're seeing that effect. And so I think as professionals, we need to advise people accordingly too in that arena, and helping them, you know, if they're in trouble, let's move them along into something where they're getting a better rate, but also counseling them on, listen, this gets the same kind of actions. If you keep on the same path, you'll get the same result. And that's where there needs to be a change in attitude towards money and credit.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to the lines of credit, especially with the current state of rates, let me move this really closer so I can broadcast live. You know, I was watching, without getting into politics at all, I was watching the DNC, the Democratic National Convention last night, and President Bill Clinton spoke at the DNC. And one thing in particular he talked about was the state of the economy in the States, what it was, and where it's, you know, it's heading under the Democrats, yada, yada, yada. But the one thing that he pointed out was, I took away as, you know, acknowledgement of the warning signs was, yeah, rates today are low. They're extremely low, and they have been for a year or two or three. But what he said was, we're not looking forward, and if we're not looking forward, we're playing with fire. And that really ties into the current state of a home equity line of credit. That's why these lenders are doing this. They're scaling it back to 65 because they're not stupid. The smoke and mirrors are going to go away soon, whether that's a year or 5 or 10, who cares? The money's going to be on their books, and as soon as things start taking off, people aren't going to be able to handle that, period. So, you know, it's proactive as opposed to reactive, and it says a lot about how you know, taking investors out of the mix and self-employed out of the mix, just regular, everyday, good old blue-collar folk going to work, 7 to 3 o'clock, coming home, feeding the family. If they're not prepared for what's to come, as the discounts evaporate on those lines of credits, they're going to start seeing those letters come in the mail. They already are, moving up a half a point here, half a point there. Next thing you know, we're going to be at 6. And then it's really going to hit the fan. So I just wanted to make light of that and make note of that. You know, last night watching that, Bill Clinton said that clip, and it really, the light bulb went off like, yeah, obviously, that's so true, but no politician ever says that, you know.
Fortunately, he's not running. But I think, Scott, just to your point is that, yeah, I'd love to see some more discretion in that area from our lenders in giving out those products. And I think tightening up in that area probably needs to be reviewed as well. I'd love to see the government, you know, tackle some of that stuff too, but I'm not sure that they will, because default rates are a lot higher on credit cards if you start looking at the numbers than they are on mortgages and those kinds of things. That's where it starts to get nasty. And if you actually were to parlay that into the mortgage side, we'd have a chronic problem. So, and a problem that would be national headlines, but because it's a credit card number, it's not being treated with the importance that it would be if that was in the mortgage space.
No.
And quick show of hands here. Quick show of hands in the air. Sorry, Scotty. 2 seconds. Quick show of hands. How many people have seen first mortgage is okay, it's not in arrears? What's killing the client is either a second mortgage with some, you know, a loan shark, City Financial or Wells Fargo or something crazy like that, or a line of credit from one of those institutions. Show hands right now, don't lie, lying is the devil. Yeah, bingo, okay? Yeah. Everybody across our industry would guarantee say the same thing. First, mortgage in first positions at a great low rate, because that's what the consumer likes to hear, today's lowest rates, and what's killing them is that interest-only loan that they're getting somewhere else because of a credit card that got them into that mix. And Conrad, you're right, no politician, left or right side of the fence, wants to tackle that because that's stepping on the big guy's toes, and it's shameful. It's shameful.
They won't get elected.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, you know, maybe if they had my good looks and Jackson's brains and Scott's beard, they would.
Bill Clinton's oratory skills.
That's it. We've got a ways to.
His what?
Bill Clinton's oratory skills, and his speaking he's an incredible speaker, in my opinion. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's a great speaker.
Yep. Scotty, back to you. Moderator, go.
There we go. No, good points, guys. Always interesting to talk about that, and I obviously it's an issue that's you know, I think we'll see more of as I mean, obviously as these changes have happened. People are still racking up debt, right? And it's getting more difficult to refinance. You know, obviously we know the mark. Obviously CMHC is out of the refinance business. We can't refinance high ratio, so there's going to be some problems for people. But I think long term, obviously, yeah, like we've said, for the housing market, it's a good thing. And in touching with the housing market, there was an article that was posted today, Vancouver Sun. I don't know if you guys read it across. Obviously, you're probably not reading it across the country necessarily, but year over year, Vancouver sales are down 31%. I read this morning.
Yeah, I read that too. I got an email about it last night. I think they might have picked it up from somewhere else, and I think condo sales were down. I think about 5, and family homes were just somewhere in the 3 or 4% range or something like that.
Yeah, so
I think we've been seeing similar trends here. We've been seeing alternating volume going down, and then like actual number of houses, and then alternating like the price of houses going down, and it's sort of been flip flopping between the two. So I think there's a bit of instability here too in terms of housing. I think a lot of these changes are definitely going to have an effect on it.
yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. It was a tweet from another mortgage Jake on Twitter was kind of asking me about that, and his question was, how is this affecting your business, right? And I mean, traditionally for me, I can't speak for everybody on the panel here. Is August is a fairly quiet time, anyways. A lot of people go on vacation. Kids are off school. It's just kind of a quiet time all around. So personally, I take a bit of holidays as well. So I haven't seen it, kind of affect my business. But again, I'm not necessarily chasing just the resale market, right? I have noticed my business pick up. As we're talking about this, I've noticed a pickup with refinances and with switches, and also second mortgages as well. So I don't know if you guys can add to that at all in your respective areas.
Yeah, just a quick question. I mean, I don't want this to become too much of an inside baseball discussion, but how do you guys think these sorts of things will actually change our job market in general in terms of other agents and brokers in the space? I know a lot of them specialize in like quick refis and stuff like that. What do you guys think is going to happen over there, and how that's going to affect the housing market?
In terms of with these changes, I've noticed this. I've obviously, yes. So you notice a slowdown for sure. First-time buyers are taking their time. This has been kind of a long time coming as well, though. It hasn't been like all of a sudden the brakes are on. It's been the last probably year and a half that it's been a more stable kind of market.
Yeah, the Vancouver market peaked in May 2011, and from that point on, we've noticed that trickling out into the suburbs, and so I think, it's hitting the headlines, and so the numbers don't look pretty, when you're comparing 2011, which was a record year basically in most instances, in most categories. But I think the market feels more normal now, and more of a balance to it. Like, you don't have the gun to your head. Although we are still seeing some, I believe that select properties and exclusive properties, real estate will always do well, no matter where it is. The New Yorks, even waterfront stuff in Vancouver or in London, something that's unique and exclusive, I think, will always hold its value long term, because it's more of a collectible type of a thing. So, but Vancouver is definitely slowing down and has been slowing down. But I think it's been a positive thing in a sense too. And we've also noticed that the Chinese influence has really tapered off, and that's due to the fact that they're processing way less applications this year, and that's limited the amount of people that are coming in and buying.
Yeah, that was kind of mentioned in the Vancouver Sun article as well. Is the west side of Vancouver has really tapered off, whereas and in terms of how long the markets or how long the houses are for sale, whereas the east side has actually gotten, sales are happening faster. So
yeah,
that obviously the Asian market was mostly west side. Now east side, I guess, is the new area that's picking up.
You probably saw this too, Scott, where a British Properties house that was basically a teardown was listed for 1.8 and sold in 4 days for 2.8. So it sold for $1 million over. That just went through. That was a real recent sale. So there's still, I think, those hot properties, those really, ones that you don't see come up too often, will still attract good money.
Yeah, it's still happening. I had an offer come across my desk earlier this week. It was listed. It was a condo actually too, listed for 4 days, and then another purchase on a freestanding home. It has a backup offer. So yeah, still moving. So you can't. I mean, obviously we know this. You can't believe everything you read in the newspapers.
Hey, it's even the same in Guelph. I mean, it's not West Vancouver prices. It's not fantastic lakeshore property, but even still, there's we've seen a huge surge in activity, and I think what Conrad said is true. It's still hustle and bustle, but I'm definitely seeing the signs of it kind of getting back to normal. I think the situations where a house is listed and in a day there's a firm offer in place and there's like 8 other offers behind it, we might see some of that kind of evaporate going into the winter. But I mean, make note that we were warned of this. I believe Camp made a good point. I think it was late last year, that we're going to see those refinances evaporate because we've seen 2008, 2009. Everybody's starting to jump on board with refinancing as things were coming back down, and I see that that's fairly true. Maybe that adds to why it's kind of settling down a bit, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely kind of stabilized. And I think our business now. What are your thoughts on this then? Obviously, guys, if there's all this talk of businesses slowing and deals are getting fewer and far between, obviously our goal is to we're building our business, right? How do you see this affecting individually your business? And we're maybe getting a bit not sidetracked necessarily, but how are you going to move forward with these possible, with these changes, slowing market? How are you still going to, keep busy? What are you going after?
I got this one. No, I think if we're talking directly to mortgage brokers and we're talking about creating a value proposition. I mean, it's interesting. When the market slows down, you can look at it like, it's slowing down, or you can look at that as an opportunity to make up ground. Because let's face it, when the market slows down and your first-time home buyers aren't jumping as fast as they would, you're not dealing with competitive offers, you have a chance as a service provider to make sure they completely understand the process. You have a chance to build into your clients and make a difference and get more referrals. If I actually embrace a time where it's a little bit slower and I can take the steps necessary to methodically explain exactly what's going on. And when you do that, when you take care of somebody, you can be better. I think that when the market slows down, it really hurts the part-timers, the guys that work at Best Buy, and it's kind of like, okay, I'll meet with you after 6 because I've got to work a full-time job, and it's like, well, are you really a broker? I guess so, you're licensed, but are you really keeping up to date with everything? I think because the market's slower, it's a little, people are going to do more looking into what they actually want, and they're going to want to deal with somebody who's got the time to really meet them where they're at. I think this just allows us as professionals to be professional and to do our job well. And the more we do it, the more business we drive. I like it.
Yeah, to add to that as well, I mean, that was sort of the question I was asking earlier. I mean, what's going to happen to all these part-timers? I definitely think there's going to be a bit of a shakeout. I think people that are more professional that do this, day in, day out, I think they're going to have a little bit of an advantage. They're going to be able to build their business more, and I definitely think they're not going to be as affected by it as other brokers would be.
No, absolutely. Rob, sorry, you had your hand up.
No, I did not, but I'll add 2 cents now that I'm here. I totally agree with Jackson and Paulo. There's not better of a time to tighten up your game and to get all the systems in place that you've been struggling to get in place because you've just been so damn busy, and work on value as slowing down and working on value, just as Jackson said. Jackson, you know what? I'm not going to even talk anymore. Jackson hit right on the head of the nail.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, on that note, guys, we've been on air, I think, for over our limit today, so we'll maybe wrap it up. Great to have you guys again, another Canadian Mortgage Hangout. I forgot to mention before we started broadcasting, obviously, if you're watching this on the website, if you could share it with the Google+, share it on Twitter if you like what we're talking about. If you have any suggestions, obviously, for upcoming shows and you're watching, leave us a comment. Let us know. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Other than that, that's great to have you guys. Conrad, thanks for joining us again. We'll probably see you up at Mink Coffee one of these times.
I'll be there
again. And Jackson, thanks again for joining in. And Paulo, again, thanks for flying in today on the CMH TV helicopter. And as always, Rob Campbell. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, Scott.
All right,
have a good week, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Tuning out. Bye-bye.